resolves. Can't be blocked. Game. If you question the Cannoneer, it was better than Paradox Engine that time. Hello and welcome back to another day in the arena. It's me at CGB with my favorite. Yes, I get asked all the time. Favorite commander, favorite deck, favorite format, favorite this, favorite that, Magic the Gathering favorite. Here you go. It's Emry, Lurker in the Loch in Brawl. This is the deck I am most likely to play when I'm not recording. This is the deck I'm most likely to just dive into the queue and try to cause nonsense with. This is the deck for me. It's both the combination of like high ceiling, where it has very complicated lines and very complicated things you do, to low floor, where it's just, Paradox Engine, I win. And the idea of just getting those dopamine hits of cast a card, untap, draw a bunch of cards, cast a card, untap, draw a bunch of cards from good old Paradox Engine combo might be just what I need at the end of a long day. So there's no time when I can't play Emry, is what I'm saying. Emry and Brawl is just one of the finer experiences in Magic the Gathering, and you will not change my mind. I don't care how much you hate Paradox Engine. I don't care how much you hate blue. I don't care how much you hate counterspells. I don't care how much you hate extra turns. This is fun, and I will die on that hill. So Emry, Lurker in the Loch. Let's introduce her to those of you looking to get into Brawl or to try Emry for the first time. And for those of you who know everything about all these cards, well, you may want to watch a bit of the intro just to look for the new cards in the deck list, because Pioneer Masters has hit us with some sweet updates. And then those of you who don't even need that, you're just too 5-head, you can skip to the gameplay. Totally cool. Go ahead. On your way. I get it. I'll see you there. But for everybody looking to learn a little something about Brawl or the card selections, or just hear me talk about Magic cards as I like to do, this intro is for you. Let's start with the basic of what we're trying to do. Emry, Lurker in the Loch is a 1 mana, although it says 3, 1/2 legendary Merfolk Wizard. It costs 1 less to cast for each artifact you control. Right at the baseline, this is important because for every artifact we control, the commander tax of Emry is also reduced. Even if Emry has died 5 times, you might cast Emry for 1 mana if you have enough artifacts on the field. So of course our deck is dedicated to artifacts. Then it says when Emry enters, mill 4 cards. A free mill of 4 when this enters means that graveyard access is almost always turned on, which means we can run a lot of delve cards in the deck, which are very good in the format. I'm talking about Dig Through Time, Treasure Cruise, and Temporal Trespass. So right away, having those cards turned on most of the time, this card is already bananas. But there's another ability. Choose target artifact in your graveyard. You may cast that card this turn. That is the tap ability of Emry. So we want to mill artifacts, then tap Emry to cast artifacts from the graveyard to get value. And we like artifacts that do things, that produce mana, that tap the opponent's stuff, that draw cards. And we like artifacts that sacrifice, because then we can do that effect again and again if Emry gets to live. Mono blue color identity, artifact heavy deck, graveyard synergies, artifact synergies, cheap commander. There's a lot of power in Emry already. Let's get into the card selection. Actually, before that, let's talk win cons, because you guys love knowing the win con. The win con of the deck is to get Paradox Engine into play. Paradox Engine is a mythic legendary artifact that is banned in Commander. In fact, it's not legal in a lot of formats. So this is one of the few formats you get to see this card do its thing. What a beloved masterpiece this is. It says, when you cast this spell, untap all non-land permanents you control. So the combo is that you want Paradox Engine, you want something to untap to produce mana. Let's call it an Arcane Signet, but there are many options. And you want Emry, Lurker in the Loch, because Emry's tap ability gets an artifact out of the graveyard to cast. So let's just say that what we have here is an Arcane Signet, and we have like a Chromatic Star, and we have an Emry, Lurker in the Loch. What we can do is sacrifice the chromatic star to add a blue mana to the mana pool. This draws us a card. Emry can target the star in the graveyard. We can cast the star from the graveyard using the 1 blue mana we made. It untaps the Arcane Signet and the Emry Lurker in the Loch with Paradox Engine when we cast the star. Now we tap the Signet, we sacrifice the star, we float the blue mana, we draw a card, we repeat the process. We have drawn our entire deck. Ta-da! We did it. Now, once you've drawn your whole deck, you might wonder, how do you win? By playing cards with 0 mana value, like Metalwork, Colossus, Mox Amber, or Mishra's Bauble, we can make essentially infinite mana. Mishra's Bauble in particular, sacrificing and then coming back over and over, can go infinite and generate as much mana as you need with the even 1 mana rock, and then you use that mana to cast this little card, Aetherflux Reservoir, which says whenever you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn. Then pay 50 life, and this deals 50 damage to any target. Because we can cast as many spells as we want to, we can gain as much life as we want to. Once our life total goes above 50, we do 50 damage to the opponent's face. We have won the game. We can basically access this in any way we need to if it goes to the graveyard using Emry's ability. So even if we mill this card, whether it's in our hand, deck, or graveyard, Emry can go get the card. Now, there are other ways to win, and we might even do it in the video. It's definitely not limited to this win con, but it is the most common win con. So, ta-da, combo gaming in mono blue. Who would have thought? Let's go into the individual card selections. We already talked about these cards. The 0 mana cards that are so important in competitive Brawl. Pact of Negation is great to make sure that your combo goes off. Mishra's Bauble is actually one of the best cards in this deck. It's usually filler in other decks, but in this deck is a free way to get back Mishra's Bauble over and over with Emry to consistently draw more and more cards and get through your deck. Mox Amber is excellent in this deck as well, better than usual. And Metalwork Colossus is a kind of a fun alt win con pressure source that is often 0 because of the amount of artifacts we play. There's also an infinite combo with Metalwork Colossus for infinite cast triggers with the Paradox Engine and infinite artifacts entering the battlefield. We'll get into it in one of the games. I won't explain it right now. You're going to have to watch the games. Card by card. Aether Spellbomb bounces an opponent creature, so this keeps creatures off your back while you're setting up your combo or draws you cards. Brainstorm is great with Emry specifically because you can put back 2 artifacts on top of your deck when your Emry is on the stack, and then Emry's trigger resolves and you mill those artifacts, then Emry can cast them from the graveyard. So you always have a Brainstormish outlet when you cast your commander. So Brainstorm, extra good here. Moonsnare Prototype. We use the channel ability sometimes, but mostly this is a mana rock. You get to make a lot of mana in a lot of ways with this deck. Enigma Jewel taps for 2 colorless just for activated abilities, of which we have many in the deck. There's a lot of places where Enigma Jewel is good. For example, with the Chromatic Star, you can activate the Chromatic Star with the Enigma Jewel's mana and then turn it into mana you can use for other things. It's kind of like washing the mana. It's a neat little effect. The craft ability of Enigma Jewel is also relevant because sometimes you can craft this into an Emry when you need an Emry to complete your combo, if your Emry, say, is in the graveyard. Unable to Scream is it's just a good way to nerf an opponent's commander. We have minimal interaction in this deck, much less than other decks, but we want just enough to keep the opponent off our back while we are putting together our combo, which takes a critical mass of cards. Wash Away, always good. Waterlog Hulk, these little artifacts that mill. Think of mill in this deck as a very good thing for you. The more cards you mill, the more likely you'll mill your engine, the more likely you'll mill your combo. And then all you need is Emry to untap without Summoning Sickness or gain haste, and you're off to the races. So milling yourself is always a good thing in this deck. You want to mill a lot of your deck. And this little artifact that comes out on turn 1 and starts milling you is great for reducing Emry's cost and getting you deeper into your library. Witching Well also gets you deeper into the library and creates potential card advantage. Ominous Parcel. This is a fun little alchemy buff that you can sack to get more islands or deal 4 damage to target creature. Bringing this back over and over when you have a lot of mana can nerf all the opponent's creatures and keep them off the board. Expedition Map can search for any land, including some of the lands that get our Paradox Engine. One thing you'll be looking for in most hands with this deck, do I have a path to Paradox? Will I be able to find my engine this game? There's only one in the whole deck after all. Expedition Map can fetch Inventor's Fair, which can fetch Paradox Engine. So if you can buy enough time, it works. Think about it that way. Fountain Bell is a good one for putting lands on top of your deck when you have a land light draw. Remember, you don't have to put a land on top of your deck, but it's another one you can sack to draw cards and make sure you hit land drops. Hobagiriper can lock the opponent out of casting non-creature spells. It's a very good card in the deck against control decks. It is a rare, it is a niche card. It is not necessary. You could replace it with some little artifact that sacks to draw a card, like I don't know, there's Jack-o'-lantern or something like that to spend a cheaper wild card, but it is really good in the deck. Lava Spur Boots is an uncommon that gives haste. This is really important for going off with Emry on the turn you cast Emry, so cards like this make the cut. No Elemental Blast is a good card that is the most likely card to cut. You know that this card is good when it hits. When you actually get to use this to counter something expensive and powerful or a commander, it feels great. When you play against a monocolor deck, you ask, what is my life? Why am I doing this? You might want to cut this card. It could easily just be another artifact. Renegade Map is a cheap artifact that gets you lands and can keep getting recurred to make sure you hit all your land drops. Scrabbling Claws is one of my favorite graveyard hate pieces because you can be tapping it to nerf the opponent's graveyard as it just sits there, reducing the cost of Emry, and you can cash it in for a card, either just to get deeper in the deck or to pop off and draw your deck once your combo is going. Soul Guide Lantern can nuke the whole graveyard, which can be very important in the format where the graveyard is often used a lot, and it can be a draw outlet for the Paradox Engine when you're going off. Springleaf Drum is a good way to make mana if you have any other creature on the battlefield. We don't run a lot of creatures, but at its worst, every artifact is like a mana rock for recasting Emry, so it does the job of reducing Emry's mana cost, which is Oven. Sacrifice the Emry, make a food. This keeps creating more and more artifacts, so even if the opponent is on the kill your commander over and over plan, which is Oven, make sure that you keep making more and more artifacts so Emry stays cheap. It's also great when the opponent tries to do bad things to Emry, like Witness Protection or Unable to Scream. And on top of that, an interesting thing with Emry is sometimes you find yourself in a situation where you want Emry dead so you can recast Emry because it digs deeper into your graveyard, either to enable Delve or find better artifacts. And Witch's Oven gives you a way to sacrifice Emry and do that thing. And believe it or not, sometimes you want to kill your own commander in this deck because the tax is mostly irrelevant. Thoughtcast. This is one of the new cards showing up in Foundation's Jumpstart out of nowhere. This is often a 1-mana draw 2 cards in an artifact deck, which is amazing. The Affinity players know and love it. Kappa Cannoneer shows up from Modern Horizons as a rare. You don't need this card, but I find it as a good alternate win con that's kind of tough to beat. The Ward 4 is insane. Nobody pays that. The Improvise means you often cast this for just 1 mana, and whenever this or another artifact enters the battlefield, this gets +1/+1 and it can't be blocked. So it puts a real clock on an opponent, even one with an awesome board state. You'll see it in action in the games. Thought Monitor, 1 mana draw 2 often because of the amount of artifacts we play. A great blocker, a great recastable affinity card. Treasure Cruise, often 1 mana draw 3 with the Delve in this deck. Plunderer's Prize is an alchemy rare. What I love about this card, it has a lot of text, which basically means you put mana into this, you get some random artifact from your deck, and sometimes you get the prize back, but you have to pay more for it. What I want to do with this card in this deck is cast it for 1 mana where X is equal to 0. Just turn 1, you have the prize, play the prize. Because there are 2 0-mana artifacts it can hit, and both are great for you. Mishra's Bauble, which becomes a card advantage engine in your graveyard with Emry for no mana, and Mox Amber, which is just free 1 mana ramp in blue. So I recommend with the Plunderer's Prize, if you craft it, 1 blue, 0 is X. Just turn 1, fire it off, and see what you get. Another fun alchemy card that's an uncommon. Landlord Navigator is a good kind of alternate pressure source in the deck that I found very useful. Whenever this attacks, you make a map, and at the beginning of your end step, if 2 or more artifacts entered, very easy for this deck, conjure a Thieving Magpie onto the battlefield. This is a 1/3 flyer that when it deals damage to an opponent, draws a card. If you get this out early and say the opponent's all worried about killing Emry over and over, as they often are, then you make 2 or 3 magpies, you're not going to need much help to win the game. These magpies draw a ton of cards, and this card provides, in LVD terms, a lot of value. It's really good for an uncommon, and it is a very fun alchemy card. Speaking of fun alchemy cards, this rare one is Ominous Lockbox. You might have seen it in other Brawl decks. You choose the number that is the casting cost of their commander when it comes into play, and then when they cast their commander or something with the same mana value, you get a copy of it for free. What's great about it in Emry is you can keep bringing it back. So if the opponent is scared to cast their commander, you can sack the lockbox to draw a card because it's a clue, and then on your turn cast it again with Emry and just keep them locked out of their commander while you're drawing cards. Nasty, very fun. Utter Insignificance is like a removal spell for this deck, and we can often use the exile effect if we need to. Counterspell and Mana Drain are really good. They shouldn't require a lot of explanation here, but one thing I will say, I don't have Memory Lapse, I don't have Remand, I don't have a lot of counterspells to focus more on being a combo deck. I found that more successful than trying to be a control deck. Ultra of Dementia has a similar effect to Witch's Oven, but is also a really sweet combo with Metalwork Colossus. This can sometimes lead to endless Metalwork Colossus triggers and milling the opponent completely out as a win con when they mess with your reservoir. Cold Steel Heart, Guardian Idol, Mind Stone, Solar Transformer, Iron Crag, and of course Arcane Signet are cheap mana rocks that help win with Paradox Engine. Mesmeric Orb. Whenever a permanent becomes untapped, that permanent's controller mills a card. Don't be afraid of milling yourself in this deck. Even mid-Paradox Engine combo, don't be afraid to mill your entire library. You don't need your library to win. You can mill yourself totally down to 0 and still pull out the reservoir and then combo just by cycling through cards in your graveyard, artifacts in your graveyard that sacrifice for some kind of effect other than draw a card, and you can win the game with reservoir. Milling yourself is good. Getting the orb down is good. Think of it like a tutor. This will turbocharge your graveyard and eventually hit Paradox Engine, which Emry can then cast it. This is a way to see more cards in your deck, and don't be afraid to use it. Moonsilver Key searches for an artifact or with a mana ability or a basic land. This means all of your mana rocks are tutorable with Moonsilver Key. What you want to get most of the time is a Key to the Archive or a Rune Carved Obelisk, because both of these provide a path to Paradox Engine that'll cover when I get here to the 4-drops. But think of Key as a tutor for a tutor, if that makes sense. Reverse Engineer is often a 2-mana draw 3 cards, great in a combo deck. Dig Through Time, often 2 mana, look at 8 cards, grab 2, great for a combo deck. Braided Net is a great stall tactic that's also a card draw engine. It's a really good rare for this deck. It taps down the opponent's stuff for a few turns, and then when you craft it, you can use the backside, as you often do in this deck, to draw a bunch of cards for all the artifacts on the battlefield. So, card draw machine, Braided Net. Fabricate gets you Paradox Engine. Metallic Rebuke is often a 1-mana, opponent pays 3, or it's countered counter spell, so it's better in this deck than a Memory Lapse. Relic of Legends and Worn Power Stone are more mana rocks. Temporal Trespass is an extra turn for 3 mana, which is awesome. And Whir of Invention gets you Paradox Engine or cards to go with it, which is awesome at instant speed. Keep that in mind. We talked about Reservoir. The One Ring is the other card that can win with Paradox Engine, often without Emry. Emry is usually required to be untapped and unsummoning sick to perform. However, you can get the One Ring down and you can be activating it, drawing cheap cards, and then casting those cheap cards to untap the One Ring with your Paradox Engine, and you can combo off without your commander. This is important because in the past, Emry wasn't able to do this. So there are worlds where if you are in like a standoff or at a low resource number with the opponent top decking, there are plenty of times where you want the One Ring instead of Paradox Engine, because the One Ring will often get you the resources you need to get your Paradox Engine anyway. It can be the first tutor sometimes. Hedron Archive, Key to the Archive rune. carved obelisk. Hedron Archive is here because you can sack it to draw through your deck, so it combos in the engine world of being an outlet as well. But Key to the Archive can hit a card like Demonic Tutor out of the spellbook that can then go get you your Paradox engine, so it makes the cut. And Rune Carved Obelisk has inevitability to get Paradox engine if you use it 3 times. See, each time you use the obelisk, you get 2 charge counters, and then when you sack the obelisk, you seek a card with the highest mana value among cards in your library with mana value X or less, where X is the number of charge counters on obelisk. I may realize in my video that this can also include Kappa Cannoneer, which I may not have thought about because I wasn't looking at it for the full cost. I was looking at for the improvised cost. If you get too many counters, it can also hit Thought Monitor. That might be a reason to cut the Cannoneer, because it is very satisfying to know if you sack a Rune Carved Obelisk with 6 counters that you will hit Paradox Engine if it's in your deck. But I will say, the game we accidentally fetched Cannoneer may have turned out just fine. Temporal Manipulation and Time Warp and Karn's Temporal Sundering are extra turn spells. All of these can really help you go off. Obviously, when you are playing Paradox Engine, you are trying not to rope out, and sometimes casting an extra turn just makes sure you won't rope out so that you'll win on your next turn, and that's totally fair. But really how it often works is you need to cast Emry, and you need to untap with Emry. So your opponent casts a board wipe, they kill your Emry, they tap out. You cast Emry for a cheap cost because of that reduced commander tax. Then you also cast a Time Warp the same turn. Then you go to your next turn, you untap with your Emry. Now you tap Emry, you get your Paradox Engine out of your graveyard, and you're off. You did the thing. You got rid of Emry's summoning sickness with an extra turn. As we move it in the mana base, of course, Cavern of Souls and a bunch of islands. This could be a fetch land mana base. If you want a Mystic Sanctuary plus fetch lands mana base, it can work here. I decided to go without it. It wasn't adding a lot to my games, but a lot of people love having Mystic Sanctuary in a deck with a Time Warp, and I totally respect that. So you could go that route if you want to. Also, I think often about adding Crucible of Worlds to the deck because it provides another path to Paradox where you mill your Inventor's Fair, you get back your Inventor's Fair, you fetch it, you sack your Paradox. If you have fetch lands in the deck like Flooded Strand and Scalding Tarn, then Crucible of Worlds gets better. Otawara Soaring City, of course, pretty much every blue deck can run this. Riptide Laboratory bounces a wizard, which can give us more ETBs for Emry, digging deeper in our deck, so it makes the cut here. Seat of the Synod arrived in Jumpstart, so it's another new addition to the deck. Artifact lands are great in this deck because they do double duty. They tap to give you mana to play Emry, and they function as an artifact. So picture every artifact land as 2 mana towards your Emry commander tax, which you do have to pay because people love to kill her. Buried Ruin can get you your Paradox Engine or other crucial artifact out of the graveyard if Emry keeps getting killed. Darkseal Citadel is another artifact land. Another artifact land is Treasure Vault. We want those effects where we can get them. Inventor's Fair I've covered. This can often get you your Paradox Engine. And Urza's Cave can get you the Inventor's Fair that gets you the Paradox Engine. It can also fetch you Cavern of Souls if you're having trouble getting Emry to resolve. And then we have some utility lands, just a couple, because actually I've gotten a long way with very basic lands and not taking a lot of damage. This deck, more than others, is susceptible to being aggroed out. It doesn't defend itself very well. It just kind of races for engine. So these lands that make you pay 3 life to get them untapped, running extras of these do cost you in this deck, which is why I've opted for basics. But Sink into Stupor is too good. It gets included anyway. And Lorien Revealed is too good, and it gets included anyway. Both of them come in very handy in the situations where you have to cast them. That's the deck tech for Emry. Thank you very much for watching my long deck techs. It's a rant, me talking about cards I love, and I don't know, we might do more of them. Honestly, the response to the Tajik deck tech was good, and it might take up more of the video, but then you get a longer video. That's good, right? That's fine. The people who are annoyed can skip forward. We have chapters. We have the technology. It's here for you. And the sponsor of today's video is CoolStuffInc.com. Promo code CGB5. Pre-order Innistrad Remastered. Let's dive in. Let the nonsense begin. Derevi. Yeah, I just did a lot of versions of Derevi. This deck is a nightmare to play against, and we're on the draw. And usually Wash Away is a good card, and against Derevi, it's sometimes just completely dead. We could play the Parcel on turn 1, sack it to go get an island on turn 2, and then do we have enough for Emry? No, we don't. But we can Plunderer's Prize and that stage into a Mox Amber or a Bauble. We do have Key. You know, all things considered, this hand could be worse. It could be a lot worse. Okay, they just have the Tome on turn 1, which is something I really love, by the way. I love Tome of Gadwick in that deck. We did not draw the land. All right, moment of truth. Do not stifle me, bro. Thank you. Prize. Looking for Mox Amber, but Bauble would be fine. We get responses. It's a Surveil. And there's the Amber. It's too bad it doesn't tap for colorless. Ooh, they do not get Derevi here, and we draw a land, which we needed. Let's go for Emry. Try to turn on our Amber. Nice. No artifact, but there is a parcel down there. Let's go for Relic of Legends, because we can use it to play Hope, and then use Hope for mana. Even if they remove the Emry here. Actually, them killing Emry here would be very funny, because I'd end up playing it again by casting Hope and then tapping the Hope for mana to cast the Emry. But instead, it's Mana Drain my Relic, which is the best card in the game. Best card on Magic Arena. Let's see how they use it. The good news about Mana Drain and Derevi, they're not a ton of good mana sinks for Mana Drain because it's a very lean deck, but they could have Court of Calling, and they could have the One Ring. Like, there are cards they could have that make it look really good here. It's possible. Yeah, just cast their commander, sure. Yep, Mastermind, good card. But yeah, you see what I mean. This isn't the most punishing mana drain in the history of time. It just fueled a setup turn. Could have been a lot worse. So their 3 cards, now we know, aren't super mana powerful, but they do have Mastermind. That's a good mana sink on its own. Hope a Ghirapur can block it. Seven cards in graveyard. Very close on this Temporal Trespass. Very close. I don't think now is the time. Let's do this. It'll be really good if we need it, but do I need it? Maybe it's just fuel for the graveyard. There is a temporal manipulation down there. Yeah, I think we can discard the key. I was gonna discard the wash away, but that's right, we can get artifacts out of our graveyard if we want. Let's play this. And I'm pretty sure we're just chilling. Could have honestly attacked with Emry to get it in the graveyard and then delve it away. Yeah, this can be the spot where Derevi gets into trouble because they just don't have much to do. The Tome will make a little spell that the mana from attacking with Derevi can cast. And that's very good. We could block with Hope, but I don't think that's a good play. Hope is a very good deterrent for them trying to interact with our extra turns. They want to peek at my hand? Okay. Enjoy. I might have a few turns in a row coming up if you let it happen. What have I got? 7 mana? Probably should have untapped Derevi to block Hope unless they have a different plan for it. But, I mean, I guess we don't know what they're going to do with mana. If they block Hope with a Mastermind, we'll just play it again. So I don't know if they calculated for this. Yeah, okay. I see. Yeah, I see you. Bring it out. Cast it again. Certainly seems like some counterspell action going on here. Best just prepare for it. If you get enough mana, the Ominous Parcel becomes removal every turn. Maybe that's a destination we can get to. So we could try to cast the Trespass here. I don't think it will resolve. And if we're patient with the Hope, we'll have a better chance. We could go for the Regrowth. The Regrowth could get the Rebuke or the Manipulation. Could also get Prize. The thing is, we don't know what they're planning to do with their mana, and it's probably interactive. I think just holding up a counterspell for this turn cycle is the best. The opponent is getting ahead with the Tome of Gadwick, but it's very slow. It's snowbally, but it's not the most intense snowball. What does that get back? Mana Drain? Let's not. Seems like a good card to counter. I know that the Hope might lock it out, but if they have the Derevi untapped, the Hope isn't going to hit. So if they untap the Derevi, we have to Emry back the Parcel and blast the Derevi out of the way. And then they can bring it back at instant speed. Ugh. It's gonna be a weird matchup to try to resolve these extra turns. They always have plenty of mana because of their commander. The Tome is getting them spells. Yep, they piece it together with a card draw. They play Halfling, so their stuff gets uncounterable, at least the Legends do. Soul Guide Lantern can be good against them. Let's get the Parcel. It is a lot of mana to try to kill this Derevi, but it works. And it shuts off their free mana machine. So you have to try. Especially with a new renewable resource like the Parcel. And they're gonna Chord? Yikes. We did not need that, but it's only for 2. They might have a Scavenging Ooze if they're running one of my later lists. But a lot of the versions I ran did not have the Ooze. And if they're building their own, who knows? But this looks like mine so far. I think these are all cards I ran. That is a new one to me. Haven't seen that. That is pretty good. But Derevi is down. We can play this Lantern. And take out... If they were playing a Witness, what would I hate the most to see? Honestly, it's not the Mana Drain, it's the Chord of Calling. Timeless Witness, a card to return any card from graveyard to hand that I ran in some of my versions, although I never ran this, so this is new now. They might have some things I don't expect. They could shuffle this back into my deck if they're very afraid of it, but they shouldn't be. They have Derevi. Like, Derevi is a really good foil to Hope of Gearper. You can just keep bringing it out, tapping the thing. Like, there's so many things you can do to it. And yeah, they keep getting value off this tome. It's very frustrating. Hopefully we can get the parcel out to deal with that. And then they pass and they just bring out Derevi on my turn. They can cast their card draw spell, that whatever they got off the tome. They must be really thinking about shuffling back the Hope, and instead it's Birds of Paradise. Still enough mana for Derevi. Now they do not have enough mana for Derevi. That's a big deal. You got to be careful with that greed, my friends. You can bring out Derevi using the ability, untap the land, and then cast this, but they must be holding up a counter spell for the Temporal Trespass. That must be what they're doing. Dig through time. Good card. But I'm going to try to manage this board. One, two, three, four, five, and pay the ward, and then we have 1 mana left over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, yeah. Just off. I could try regrowthing a land. Honestly, hitting a land drop is not that bad of an idea here, but if they counter the regrowth, it's a pretty bad look. I think I'd wait. There's higher upside on every card here. Maybe we'll just sack the Soul Guide and draw. It's good against Delve, though. But you have to time it perfect. They have to not have the Delve card when you sack the Lantern. No, I think I'm drawing a card with this Lantern, to be honest. Having it in the graveyard might help delve the Trespass if something else leaves the graveyard. And yeah, we try to pick off this Drowner now. They don't get to move the Tome, so we shut down the Tome activations, at least for a turn. And then we keep bringing out the parcel and trying to pick these off. And if they don't make some huge play to surge ahead, we're okay. I'll draw. There's the land. Wish I had that last turn. Could have been digging through time right now, which would have really forced their hand. They're thinking about doing something with us tapped out. Maybe they have a dig through time. Another land. Really wish I had that last turn. All right, get the parcel. Just keep oppressing them. You get it yet? I'm killing all your stuff. Do I get to attack? If I get to lock him out, I'm gonna take some turns. I might take a lot of turns. They need to bring out the Derevi to try to stop this, and then I'm gonna parcel it out of the way, and they're gonna feel bad, but at least I don't take a bunch of turns. Actually, there's enough mana here to possibly hit Derevi. Depends what they target. Let's see what they target. What do they do? What do they do? Target a land. Well, if the hope hits, let's do this now. Can they bring it out again? They can bring it out again. Okay, they can bring it out again. If they bring it out again, though, are they tapped out? They have 1 mana open. If they do that, I think I can trespass. That's fine. We'll try to make them bring it out again. The other thing we could do is wait until they block and then blow it up after blocks, and they can't bring it out again and hit the hope. But that's not what's important here. What's important here is that they use up their mana. And then they also need like a spell pierce. Okay. They didn't bring it back out. Now they're hoping I don't sacrifice. Oh, I'm going to sacrifice. 100%. By the way, also really important in this scenario to use your rocks, because they could bounce them or do something like that. Oh, they block with the bird. Clever gal. Now they can bring Derevi back out. But if they do, that's all their mana. So they can't. Bird down. Okay, we don't go for it. We don't go for it. They didn't bring Derevi out because they're holding up that counter spell. Patience. 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 Okay, that's a spirit. It just taps something. They're probably going to bring Derevi out on their turn then. Okay, Island Cycle. Do I dig through time here? I think if I wanted to resolve, let's do it. Oh wait, this takes the delve off the table from the trespass. It does, doesn't it? We're at 10. This would be 3. They would be at 7. We need a card to go back to the graveyard. I bet that's doable. I bet we can do it. Two more. I knew that. One ring to rule them all. One word to paradox. Those are some good cards. Those are some good cards. The opponent's counterspell magic is gonna have extra work to do. Yeah, the threat of engine combo is coming. And this can do it at instant speed if they tap out again like they did last turn. But it's hard to get them to tap out with Derevi, man. And every turn that goes by where they hit their land drop and progress their board, the harder it gets. Cyclonic rifting me on my turn. Okay, that is a bold strategy. I'm not sure it's good. I'm gonna be real with you guys. I don't know if that's what you want to be doing. And look, I can trespass now. Especially if I Emry, I can trespass now. We can set up an extra turn. Oh, I think that was a big mistake. I think they made a huge mistake. One. They might have packed, but they better have packed. What don't we need? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have rocks in hand. 8. It's a really good one, though. Now I'm keeping the parcel and the temporal manipulation for the regrowth. All right, extra turn acquired. Transformer. Can make a mana of any color. Can cast the regrowth. Hope of Girapur. Untap. Land. Green. Manipulation. Yes! Get the manipulation back. Cast that. 2 mana casts, I believe, the Ultra Dementia. Or maybe we get the Mana Rock, the Parcel. And then the next turn, we Whir of Invention for Paradox Engine. And it's GG, man. It's over. Rusco. Oh, the great enemy. What a terrifying commander. Turn 1 Soul Guide Lantern, turn 2 Emry, turn 3 Fabricate for Paradox Engine or Braided Net, which can tap down things like clocks to keep the opponent on their guard. Let's try it. It's not that the Lantern's particularly great, but it is a card advantage piece. Rusco usually runs a lot of ways to kill an Emry. So getting enough artifacts on the field to fuel Emry is going to be tricky. But we sure are fueling Delve. Hit an expedition map. And there's our first removal spell for Emry. Look, everybody, they did it. They did the thing. Okay. We drew the engine. What do we fabricate for? The One Ring? I guess I could. We probably want a good Mana Rock, though. Mox Amber? Mox Amber's really good. I mean, we're casting it. We're casting it. I think it's the One Ring. I think the One Ring is the most pure gasoline card. We could also just grab Key to the Archive. Actually, Key is great. It's the Mana Rock that we want to use. It's scary because it can get Time Warps or Demonic Tutors. Let's see what the opponent takes. What do you think of my hand? They probably intended to take the key, but things got scary really fast. Oh, wow. They still took the key. Play this net. Can tap down clocks. They want to mana drain it. Yeah, their hand is just busted. Don't know if we're gonna win this one. Best card in the game right there. Leaving them in a position to still leave up counter magic. Doesn't get much better than that. You can stack your deck and that's about what you do. They thought about using the clock, but that would require them tapping out. They're not going to do that. There. Solar Transformer. Resolves. Emry will probably not, but we have to try. It did, but then it's probably going to die. Okay. We do need more artifacts. We do not have enough of them. But the fact that Emry resolved, they might be holding the counter for this Paradox Engine. We'll see. Four cards. They're probably all reactive, but are any of them counter spells? I don't think the situation gets better the longer we wait, that's for sure. Resolves. Big deal. Rude. Very rude. They're ticking that one clock they have, but remember, a clock can draw into 7 lands. There's nothing saying it won't. Okay, now things get ugly. They actually have a card advantage source. They haven't been hitting lands either. They've drawn oops all spells. 11 cards engraved. Let's go for this. And hope to God they counter this. That mana drain might save us. No, they let it resolve. Motherfucker. I needed them to counter that so bad. All right, we need another big draw step then. Okay. Dude. Charging the clock. Okay. I mean, they're shuffling away their hand now. And they're losing a mana source. It could be bad. This happens. People whiff on their clocks. I know. I've played a lot of Rusco. That is terrible for me. You're not going to sit here and bellyache that they got lucky that they drew a hand hate spell in their blue-black deck, but that is what happens. Okay, we can win through that with the right cards. We can win through that with the right cards. We're going to... Thought Distortion, yeah, we can win through that with the right cards. There's a lot of options here. Idol. Okay. Start with that. We got a 10-10. One mana open. So we have the Inventor's Fair. What can we get that gets us there? Boots on Emry does what? We've got it. I think we've got it. I think we've got it. Unless they have interference, which they don't seem to. And unless I milled the boots and forgot. Oh, there they are. Resolve? Okay. Gloves are off now. The Oven Metalwork Colossus combo is actually pretty sick. I don't get to show it off often, but in this case, here you go. It goes to the graveyard. We make 2 foods. We return it to our hand by sacking the 2 foods. So this is infinite spells. So with the Paradox Engine, this is infinite mana. Did we require it right now? Not necessarily, but it's pretty nice. Oh, we can sack this now and draw. Now that Narset is off the field. Okay. We need more blue. This does that. Wanted something to discard to the key other than the Whir of Invention if I want to keep the card. And it's a Lightning Bolt. Claim untaps Emry, I guess. Not that that's important now. Just don't misclick. That's all we need. And even if we did, we could run the Oven Metalwork Colossus trick. Even if we misclick here. So somewhere, Wizards of the Coast, in their infinite wisdom, made Emry a little less fun to play because now it like pauses to see if you want to respond to your own Paradox Engine trigger. This looks fun. This is Reservoir. Man, it looked so hopeless. They're gonna Mystical Dispute. Do I have a response to that? I guess not. I can't do anything at instant speed. So, all right, you got me there. So I'll just have to keep going. I guess they're gonna try to clock me. Most of the time people don't, but okay. It is an option. You can try to clock me. So what do I have to do? I gotta draw a lot of cards. All right, this can craft with, yeah, sure, the Renegade map. That's fine. This can draw cards equal to the number of artifacts I control. Nice. All right, we found the one ring. That can get us a long freaking way. And there's my rope. All right, gotta go to work. But they're gonna scoop now. All right. Well, I guess they just wanted to make me do the work. I'm pretty sure we could find Aether Flux even with the rope running here at this point. We already went to combat for the turn. But I think we'd make it. There's a good chance we'd make it. We'd probably make it. I hope we'd make it. Oh God, not Nadu. The ultimate battle. Mana Drain. Look, if they have a turn 1 ramp creature, turn 2 Nadu, this hand, despite having Mana Drain, is not good enough, but you got to keep Mana Drain. You have to. It's the best card. Safekeeper. Okay, Safekeeper doesn't stop Mana Drain and just sacrifice their own land. And then having Bonesaw here is good for us, actually. Bonesaw is a good card in their deck, but they do not want to be in a position where they're playing Bonesaw on a mull to 6. I think we hold this Brainstorm. We know we're holding up Mana Drain next turn, so Brainstorm here does nothing. And if they don't play their commander, we have Brainstorm, Lorien, Revealed combo. But yeah, doing nothing is very sus to them. Do it. They probably won't do it, but at least we have good plays if they don't do it. Doesn't get a lot better for them. Waiting, that is. Okay, lots of land. I think I'll keep... I want to kind of keep all the lands because this is going to be a waiting game. I like the key, though. I can put down the Sundering. Do I put down one of these rocks? think I do, to be honest. Keep the lands, because we're going to play a waiting game with them that involves a lot of instant speed shenanigans. Ooh, that is not the draw you're looking for. But we're passing. And then next turn we play the heart. They can't keep hitting their lands on this mulligan, can they? My God, they can. They're going to bone saw onto the safekeeper. But are they going to make a play? No, they know better. They know I have mana drain at this point. It's definitely the card that makes sense that would make me play this way. Okay. Wow, they gave me a creature? Okay. Cool. It's an interesting tactic. Of all the things they could serenade, they went after the Cold Steel Heart, and now they're down to 2 cards. And a commander they're afraid to cast. And they get rid of the defense. That would have been a way to push their commander through. So they already have one? Nope. I am very confused. I am so confused by what they're trying to do so far. It is wild. But I'm going to play my Moonsilver Key. Got to reduce the cost of this Colossus somehow. Okay. Yeah, what? Okay, they quench me. Must be nice. They're gonna sack some lands for triggers? Not when they have equipment, right? Yeah, it's suspected. I can't block it. All right. So, I got them tapped out and down to 1 card. They're going to start piling up cards soon. What can I do? What does the key get that solves anything? It's weird having all these improvised cards and no artifacts. We need some artifacts. Stupid Nadu things, huh? Let's get the obelisk. It is a path to a paradox engine. It needs help, but it's a path. And a path is better than nothing. Rebuke is looking really sorry here. So we'll get this out and this. And let the duel begin. They're going to get all the targets they want for their Nadu anyway, so we're going to want to use the braided net. But we can wait until they spend their mana on other things. Memory lapse, fun. Love that. That's going to be great. Okay, in response, we'll try to tap Nadu, since they use their twice a turn restriction imposed by alchemy. They can safekeep this. They don't. Wow. If I'm them, I'm keeping my lands. Or not, rather, I'm getting the damage in. Like, maybe they think that with all the cards they're going to draw from this, that they have inevitability. I think Paradox Engine is still a dangerous card. Okay. So they can attack. Easiest block of my life. Are you kidding? Without that safekeeper, they're cooked. Maybe not cooked, but it's so good. I can't believe they just gave it up. Oh, they can try to counter Emry a lot. That's fine. They didn't equip this. They can still use it for the can't block ability, though. You want to lapse this? I guess if they lapse it, Emry mills it. Do we care? No, we don't care. That would be fine. It's just a 10-10. What are you worried about? Snapcaster Mage. I think they're walking into a Metallic Rebuke, guys. Uh-huh. Oh, they want to give me a bird? I want the bird. Do I want the bird? It's a good question. And then they want to keep memory lapse, which I could then counter. Yeah, I'll take the bird. Thanks for the bonus. All right, you come on down. Yeah, look how mana efficient they are. Do we hit Paradox? Is this an engine? It is not. Doesn't have to be, though. We have an engine in the Obelisk in 2 turns. No oven in sight, but a draw 3 in hand if we can get some more artifacts. It's been a weird game. Way more islands than artifacts. All right. The Snapcaster Mage, basically another counter spell off the top with the Flux. Well played. Spring Art Nantuko, busted. Might be a reason they don't want to trade their Snappy, though. They bestow it, but if we get rid of that Snappy, they can't use it as a combo piece. Yeah, look at this. They get a free Snappy. What do they get with it? Nothing. They actually don't get anything here. I mean, they can have that, but, like, you're not going to cast it. And they're attacking. All right, this is a +1/+1. So, kill it, I guess. Very questionable plays from our Nadu pilot. I gotta say, I'm like, okay, that's all stuff you can do. Is any of it the best? Am I crazy? Maybe I'm crazy. All right, they G'd up. We got the bell. The bell. The bell can put an island on top that I don't think I require. But what are we getting from the graveyard? They do have Snapcaster, right? Nope, it's a token. So now their Essence Flux doesn't work on a Snapcaster. Could have been so good. It's like a free counter spell. Think we get the Archive? We want more mana. We need a mana rock to go with our engine. The only artifact in our deck with a mana value at like the highest mana value is the engine. So this is a guaranteed engine next turn. Not everybody knows how that works though. All right, play the bell. Do not want to put a basic land on top. You can decline if you don't want the land. Do I want the land? Let's see, 1, 2, 3. We sack this. 5 leaves us 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess we decline. We decline. Let's get a draw 3. And am I tapping the net? I think I want to tap the thing that the Jeet is on. So this is for 2. This is for improvise. 3 cards. Okay, that's an artifact. And we can hold this to be our first untap with the engine, which I think is wise. Can also sack this and Bell to get our Colossus that is like 1 mana right now. That's pretty good. That'll at least put them on notice. We don't need these to do the combo. It's 0 mana. Oh yeah, I guess it does count the full cost of the net. Beautiful. Let's go. Let's go, baby. You're gonna make this unable to block or something? You fool. They're going to see a lot of cards. They're going to see like 4 cards in this sequence minimum. They're using Jite's can't block ability to get cards with Nadu. They only used 1 though. I think they plan to make this unable to block. Make a Saproling. They have the Bone Saw. Yep, Jite to Nadu. Trigger. They get Witness Protection. That's very good and frustrating. How do I get it off of Emry? I will have to find a way. There's a sack outlet. Still in the deck there is. And then this is the second trigger. We want to let it resolve. This time we want to use the net before the Jite creature goes to combat, whatever that is. They hit a wash away. So they can counter Paradox Engine now. It's not getting easier, is it? They go to combat. Tap this. Stupor. They have a wash away though. Stupor can bounce the Witness Protection. It can also try to bounce the Emry. 24. Attacking them doesn't do much. The Nantuko just blocks. Well, a Saproling from the Nantuko just blocks. All right, we have to make them counter the Paradox Engine. And then we have to sink into Stupor the Emry, and then the Emry gets the engine back. I forgot this was in the deck. That's frustrating. But I guess we're on the beatdown train now. This is unblockable. They do probably have to wash this away. No, they don't. They say I don't have to wash that away. They got 4 open. Attack. Well, they're not going to counterattack into the Emry. This is still mana, but I'm trying to hold it. I don't think I need it. I'm trying to hold it to set off the engine when that time comes, but it's probably just a bad idea. I should play it, put a counter on the Cannoneer. We might need the mana. Start swinging for 10. Start getting those chumpers. They're holding Flux. They're holding the counter. They're just trying to go to combat. Do this again. They can have those abilities trigger anyway from their equipment, so it's not like we're losing anything from this. They got spell snares, so watch out for that. They get the land, so they make the 1/1s. They need the 1/1s. We need artifacts for the Cannoneer, which Braided Net can do. They're just sitting there. Okay. Do we still try to time the Stupor around the wash away? Let's make them do it. We can't bounce. We can only bounce the Witness Protection. So yeah, I think they have to counter this. We'll see. Maybe they don't. If they don't, Emry is active. They would hate that. Okay. It is an artifact, LOL. Trigger. Can't be blocked this turn. Craft. See if they interfere with this in any way. Okay, nice. I have another effect for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. May I? There was a chance of a blowout if they had the right card, like a Stifle there. It would have been nasty. But now... might as well make them block some more. But they take 12. That's lethal next turn. We can also sack these to draw cards with the net. I think we go for it. Doesn't seem too bad with all these artifacts. It would have been more if we wait till next turn, but I really think we just want to get it cast. Plunderer's Prize. We can try running that to 5. But yeah, that's a big draw. Yeah, I probably, you know what, in hindsight, I hang on to that net, right? I definitely hang on to that net to sacrifice and keep all that treasure. Could be huge. But, hey, they have to solve this Kappa Cannoneer. They've got to pop off. They've got to draw here. We might beat Nadu. This is serious gaming. Urza's Cave and Inventor's Fair is still in the deck, so this is also a Path to Paradox engine. Yeah, that limitation of 2 per turn does come up, doesn't it? It really does. What are they going to do about the Cannoneer? All I got to do is get an artifact onto the field, and it's unblockable. It has Ward 4. It's so hard to stop. They're digging. They hit a land. It makes 1/1s. It makes mana. Not a big deal anymore. They can't do that forever like they used to. Mesmeric Orb. I cast Waterlogged Hulk and put a counter on Kappa Cannoneer. Uh-huh. They're digging. They get a Mystical Dispute. It is a blue spell, by the way. Resolves. Can't be blocked. Game. If you question the Cannoneer, it was better than Paradox Engine that time. Nadu, you are my fodder. For I am 3-0. I am Emry. Feel the power. Post-game wraps. The Cool Kids Club Mesa Falcon member of the day is Thomas Green. Thomas Green, you're cool. Remember to join below if you love what I do and want to be a member of the Mesa Falcon gang and get early access to videos like this. Get ahead of the curve of all the people who are going to run it in the queue. You could be there before it gets overpopulated and people start figuring out how to counter it. Because, my God, you know they plot. They leave comments on my videos, you know. I watch these videos, so I know exactly what anti-deck to run in queue to farm the people who would like to copy CGB. Well, farm them first. Get early access to the videos. So Emry, my favorite. I mean, I'm telling you, this deck, it runs the gambit. You can go deep down the rabbit hole to play it perfectly and build it perfectly, and you can just play it to turn your brain off and try to get some dopamine hits from untapping things with your Paradox engine. Both ways work. It is a deck I can play anytime and usually have a good time playing. This is also a budget-friendly deck. This list may not be budget-friendly, but one thing I can promise you about Emry is you can take nearly every rare or mythic card on this list, aside from the Paradox engine and probably the One Ring, and you can substitute a ton of uncommon and common artifacts that just land on the battlefield and sack to draw a card. I think my first ever Emry Brawl deck had a bunch of eggs. I mean, like golden egg. You know, just the artifacts are like 2 mana when this enters, draw a card. Prism, something Prism was in there. Cards like that. Wedding Invitation was in there. Just 2 mana, it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. those Emry decks are still fun to play. I'm not saying they're the best version of the deck, but they will win some games. You will get to try out Paradox Engine combo without spending a ton of wild cards. So keep in mind that most of the rares in this deck you can replace with an uncommon or common artifact that sacks to draw a card, and you can probably add 5 or 6 counter spells to make the game take a little longer, give yourself more time to do your combo, and have a functional Brawl deck that you can play to do your quests and just get those little dopamine hits whenever you want in a low stakes environment. Let's be honest, we can take Brawl competitively, but we can also play it on the toilet or before going to bed. There's no rank on the line. It can be fun. So if you want to get into Brawl, I can't recommend enough. If you like combos, if you like blue, if you like artifacts, Emry is the go-to. It is, for me, the standard. And I hope that you enjoy this video and that it gives you some inspiration to try out the format. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, because there's a lot of me talking. Hopefully you're down for that if you're watching a video of mine. If not, what are you doing here? Thank you for watching this video. As always, I'll see you in the next one. You're cool.